I never thought a promise could weigh so heavily. Not the kind you make lightly, but the kind that burrows deep into your bones and refuses to let you rest. I was his mother. I was supposed to know better. And yet, when my son looked at me that night and asked me to promise him something I didn't fully understand, "Please subscribe my channel if you love your mother," I said yes. And that yes changed everything. Forever. I raised my son alone. His father left when he was very young, not in anger, not with cruelty, just with silence. The kind of silence that stretches over years and teaches a child not to expect anyone to stay. So I stayed. I stayed for scraped knees and midnight coughs. I stayed for homework I didn't understand and science projects that turned our kitchen into a miniature lab. I stayed for every bedtime story then when my voice trembled from exhaustion. People told me I was too much, too present, too protective. But when you're all a child has, you lean in. Somewhere along the way, our world became very small. Just him and me. It didn't happen all at once. It started with little things, the way he watched me, the way he always wanted to know where I was, who I was talking to. Not out of malice, but fear. "Do you ever feel lonely?" he asked once. "Would you ever leave me?" I laughed it off, thinking he was just sensitive. But deep down, I knew something was off. I should have drawn a line. I should have pushed him toward independence. But I reassured him instead. I told him he was my whole world. And he believed me. It was raining that night. The kind of rain that makes the windows alive with reflections, every streetlight doubled and trembling. We were sitting in the car, parked outside the house, neither of us moving. He didn't speak for 10 minutes. Then he said softly, "Promise me something." I asked what it was. He hesitated, swallowed hard. "Promise me you'll never leave me. Promise me you won't choose anyone over me." My chest tightened. I should have said no. I should have explained that love doesn't mean possession. But I saw fear in his eyes, and I promised. And in that moment, the world changed. I could feel a door closing quietly, locking us both inside. The days after the promise were quiet, but tense. He watched everything I did. Every phone call, every outing. Every word I spoke seemed measured through the lens of my promise. I began canceling plans, postponing dinners, calls with friends, even moments that had nothing to do with him. Because guilt is a leash, and I had tied it myself. Sometimes I wondered if love always comes at the cost of freedom. There were small, subtle moments that made me question everything. The time he mimicked my laughter, not because he was happy, but because he was afraid I might leave. The time he sat silently while I spoke with a neighbor, his eyes following me like a shadow. The time he asked, "Will you still be proud of me if I make my own choices?" That question, it broke me. I realized I had created a world where my son didn't know what it meant to stand alone. And I had to face it. The tipping point came quietly, unexpectedly. I was preparing to leave for dinner with a friend I hadn't seen in months. He stood in the doorway, silent. "You promised," he said softly. It wasn't an accusation. It was a truth I had buried. In that moment, I understood the full weight of the promise. It wasn't protection. It was control. And the love I intended to give him had become a cage. I went to him, hugged him tightly, and whispered, "Being loved doesn't mean being trapped." But he didn't know what to say. And neither did I. Breaking the promise hurt him. I won't lie. He cried. He asked if I was abandoning him. He accused me of lying. And I let him feel that pain. Because love is sometimes more about truth than comfort. Sometimes it means letting go. I told him I loved him. I always would. But I would not disappear for him. It was the first time he saw me as more than a mother. And the first time he had to see himself as more than my child. We are healing now. We speak. We laugh again. And sometimes he even corrects me, reminding me that he is his own person. The promise still haunts me. Not because I broke it, but because I made it. Sometimes I imagine what would have happened if I had never said yes. Would he be freer? Would I be freer? But the past cannot be rewritten. We can only learn from it and move forward. If you are a parent listening, hear me. Love fiercely. Protect fiercely. But do not cage the ones you love with your promises. The hardest lesson I ever learned was this. Love is not ownership. Love is not fear. Love is the courage to let go before love becomes a cage. I see it now every day. The balance between caring and freedom. The quiet joy in watching him grow without losing myself. I am still his mother, but I am also myself again. I am learning to love without fear. I am learning to let him breathe. And he is learning to walk into the world without needing me to carry him. That is a promise I will never break. Even now, years later, it is a weight and a blessing all at once. And I am finally at peace with it. Some promises are meant to last forever. Others are meant to teach us the hardest lessons, that love must be gentle, that boundaries are sacred, and that letting go is sometimes the truest act of love. And so, I whisper to anyone listening tonight, love, but do not trap, protect, but do not imprison. Promise wisely, for some promises haunt you forever.